Hi guys, what's going on? Oh my gosh, yes, work, stunning. Okay, now I'm in the mood.
Now you're ready to go. How are you doing, my love?
I am so good. Thank you so much. I'm having such a great time. This seems like a very safe and comfortable and positive space to be in. So give your guys yourself a round of applause for being here today. This is a really important cause. And for me, it's really important just because I would like to share my time and my thoughts with people that are like-minded and also very open, which I feel that energy here. So thank you guys.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Since season 6, it's definitely been a long journey for me, in and out of drag, obviously, and just, what drag means to me and what it means to be Gia Ichikawa, not necessarily just Gia Gunn, but nonetheless, the journey has been amazing. I'm constantly blessed, and I take everything with a grain of salt, and now I'm just to the point where I'm trying to utilize my platform not only for myself, but to serve my community and also, bring visibility to not only my kind, but I think all sorts of, people out there that just struggle with embracing change in their life and with identity and with finding a place in the world. My current goal is just to, use my voice for those that don't have one.
Yes. That's really beautiful. Who's been watching Drag Race since season 6? Yeah. That was an iconic season. And we saw you most recently in All Stars. And your platform has grown even more. Are you glad you went back for All Stars?
You know what, I am. When they called me to be on the show, I was a little apprehensive just after all of the, trans rumors and the, RuPaul controversy and stuff like that. But, I had to dig deep and realize that this wasn't just another opportunity for me to, be seen on television again. For me personally, and I think for my community, my trans community, it was so important for me to accept this opportunity to just simply give trans people visibility on television. Just to be able to walk back into the workroom and to be able to present myself as a woman to the world has been amazing, life-changing, and a great honor. It wasn't the easiest thing that I've ever done, but it was definitely, I think, the right thing for me to do.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And you've used that platform beautifully. I have a quote from you during the Snatch Game. It's not a bad quote, I swear.
That's okay. Bad or good, hate or love her, she's there.
She is there. This is during the Snatch Game of Love episode. It was when you're talking to Manila after the judges' critiques, and you said, "I didn't really expect competing in a drag competition as a transgender woman to be so hard and so emotional. I just wish there was another way for me to do this, to show you could be whoever you want to be. As a trans woman, I don't feel good about being looked at like a man dressed up as a woman because it's not who I am. I just want to be me." Yeah. So what was that experience like for you? What were you thinking about in that moment?
God, it seems like so long ago, so I'm like looking up into the sky trying to go back to that moment. Yeah, it's all very true. I think in a nutshell, I am here today because of Drag Race. I am the proud trans person that I am today because of Drag Race. They really shaped who I am as a person, and drag really taught me about gender identity and how it's not related to, your sexual orientation, and how, this is an art form and it's open for everybody. Growing up, I only knew drag in terms of it being done by trans performers, because I'm from Chicago, which back in the day, and I say that like it was so long ago, back in my day, gal. But, it really was a very trans-driven, entertainment city. And so that's all I ever knew. And then, Drag Race came along. And, season 1, 2, 3, 4, I think we're on the 105th season.
Yeah.
And, we never really saw trans people. yes, we saw, Sonique, we saw Carmen Carrera, we saw Jiggly, we saw Peppermint, which before my presence, I think was the most relevant in terms of really getting the trans story out there. She may or may not have been actually already transitioning while she was on the show, but I realize now that, drag has done so much, I think, for the queer community and for the LGBTQ. For us trans people, I think we still feel very left out. I know many trans performers, internationally, all around the globe, that have tried out season after season after season, just hoping that, these rumors were not true, or that, one day, they would just be accepted as they are. And I think, going back to what I said about, I wish there was another way for me to do this. Like, I wish I could do more of this, because I'm much more comfortable doing this. I also think there's not a lot of Drag Race alumni that's also able to do this. Yeah. There's so many queens that are death dropping, high kicking, doing reveals, but there's very little that I feel are actually changing the world with their words. And what I've learned with my journey and my transition is that my story is powerful, and my words are even more powerful. And if I can actually inspire people outside of having to do drag, which I love so much, and will always be a part of me, I think I would just feel a little bit more fulfilled, and like I'm more targeting my passion than just kind of doing what I've been given and just kind of riding this wave. So I think that's a little bit what we were hearing. And now when I think back, it's like, I am on my way to doing more public speaking, to doing more Q&As with people, to bringing more awareness, to the trans community while utilizing my Drag Race platform.
And what I think is really beautiful about what you just said is that not just anyone on Drag Race, but everyone has a story. Everyone has a story, and it's worth sharing. Like, any one of you people could be up here sharing your story, and we would all be learning from you, because your story is yours. It's individualistic, but there's also a communal aspect to it. So your story resonates with so many other people, even though it's just your story. And
I feel like, each journey is so different. Each experience is so different. But at the end of the day, we're all living life, and I've traveled to so many countries and experienced, queer culture in so many different spaces. And honestly, it's all very much the same. Everybody wants to express themselves. Everybody wants to feel safe in the spaces that they share their presence with. And everybody just wants to be them. And I think that's what this community does the best, is just us being us and being unapologetic about that. So I definitely encourage you guys to dive deeper into your stories and, really not being ashamed to share them, even in an Instagram story or a YouTube video that, guess what, may not get 1 million views. But I've always said that if I can at least change one life a day, whether it be with my story, a photo, a comment, anything, a video, I feel like I'm doing my job, and I know that each and every single one of you have the same amount of potential. And, just because we all share different platforms, we all have different, success stories or whatever, it's like everybody's story is just as important. Everybody's story is just as valid. And as I'm growing, I feel we all have something to learn from each other.
It's a real shame when people don't feel that way about themselves.
I think back even 5 years ago, it's like, well, what story would I have told then? I really didn't have much of a story to tell. And that's okay too. We're growing each and every single day, and we're learning so many different things about ourselves as people, as entertainers, as, however we identify. And I think that's the beautiful thing about life, and I think that's also the beautiful thing about the queer culture, is that no one, this is not a race to be, the most passable trans, or to be, the most sickening drag queen, or to be, the most, whatever it may be. I think it may appear that way, and we do live in this very high, social media, views and likes and all that kind of society right now. But I always like to remind my youth and remind my community that this is not a race. We are all, experiencing life at our own pace, and only you know who you are, and only time will tell. I think a lot of times society really wants to box us into up or down, left or right, black or white, gay or straight, trans or whatnot. And it's like, at the end of the day, some of us just don't know. Some of us are still figuring that out. People always ask me, now that you are at the end of your transition, and I'm like, no, baby, I'm just beginning, I'm at the end. The end will be when I'm dead, because I feel that each and every single day we're learning.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think a lot of times the trans community is essentialized. Like, as we've been talking about, we are affirming who we are in new ways every single day. So I think it's ignorant that folks say that still. I
always say, trans is a state of mind. It's not a state of being. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, we are all us, and we are like literally in charge of our own bodies, and we stand for what it is that we want. So this whole thing about, well, this is what trans people look like. This is what gender nonconforming people look like. This is what cis people look like. It's like, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter.
Who has taught you about, like, who's your inspiration? Because you're inspiring a whole bunch of people right now. Who inspires you? Who is teaching you things?
I know it sounds a cliche, but I always give credit to my mother, just because she was very supportive of me since, I was a little kid, and always reminded me, that my future is my future, and however I wanted to be was okay. Mm-hmm. In terms of like trans-specific stuff, my role model is Janet Mock. Mm-hmm. She is a author and also an editor, and just a fabulous trans person that I think really speaks very eloquently, speaks from the heart, and is standing up for what she believes in a very unapologetic way. And if any of you don't know her, I do highly recommend that you look her up. She has 2 books that I am in the middle of reading her second one, but she's been a really great inspiration for me. When I think back, the first person that I ever saw on the internet in a very positive way who was trans was Gigi Gorgeous. And that was just because that was the first time that I was seeing a trans person, that wasn't a showgirl, that wasn't, in the sex industry, that wasn't any of these, things that I was so familiar with. It was like, she was a breath of fresh air for me, and she actually was a very big inspiration for me in my early years of transitioning.
You shared in All Stars about Kabuki and about theater. Will you tell me about some of the cultural background into that art, and maybe how it is interacting with gender?
Yeah, so at 5 years old, I was introduced to this art form, mostly known as Kabuki theater. And in Kabuki theater, it's all male. From the actors to the musicians to the stage help, it's just men. But I actually studied just the dance portion of Kabuki, so there were also women in the group as well. But my teacher was a gay Japanese male. And, it was kind of unspoken when I was young. I don't think that my dad necessarily was the most comfortable with me going every weekend to these dance practices and stuff, with this man who was gay. I know that my grandparents definitely did not like it. But they knew that I was getting fulfilled, and they knew that this is what I loved to do. And I was good at it, till this day. I think we all saw in All Stars, it's literally my naturally born talent. Like, I am a Japanese classical dance performer, And, you know, thinking back, it's like, I think there was this dynamic that I really liked about it and really hit home for me, which was being able to dress up as a girl. I mean, I would practice every single Saturday and only really perform like once or twice a year. But we practiced this one number for a whole year, and then I got to perform it. And like that one day came, you know, after a whole year, and I was finally able to dress up as a girl. And I was literally a little boy in this Japanese American, you know, community, which was just unheard of, you know. But everybody embraced me because it was so different. And I think it's a dying art, and people were just happy to see me, you know, doing that. Little did I know at the time that I was later in life going to transition. I didn't even know what being trans was. I didn't even know that it was an option until I was about, I don't know, 16, 17, 18. I didn't even know that this was possible. But it was a way for me to express, you know, my feminine side. And I think I really gravitated towards that also.
Yeah, and then you got on Drag Race, and then after Drag Race, you were still evolving and still growing, and also in the national spotlight. I can't imagine how difficult it must be to be affirming who you are, and just like, as we've talked about many times, we're constantly discovering who we are, but in the public spotlight, where everyone knows you as this one person from a TV show, everyone has their opinions on you, and you're like, hey girl, you don't know me. I'm still growing.
I knew that by going back on this show about drag, that I was, yes, going to be reintroducing myself as a woman to the world, but also as a drag queen, which for some people, they still don't understand the difference. I definitely never imagined that I would be you know, speaking in front of people about this or being so open about it. But I have to say that it's the community that has really encouraged me to stick through it, to embrace my story, be proud of my journey, and share it with others.
Yeah. And you're doing that right now, and we're so thankful for that. We love you, Gia, and thank you so much for being with us today. Everyone, Gia Gunn.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.